Star Trek's next movie must learn from the 7-year-old mistake that almost broke Discovery. If Star Trek wants its new untitled origin movie to be successful, the franchise must learn from one mistake that almost broke Star Trek Discovery early on. While streaming shows like Discovery have ushered in a new era for the Star Trek timeline, the movie side of the franchise has remained underdeveloped recently after the release of Star Trek Beyond in 2016. In 2024, however, updates about upcoming Star Trek movies have skyrocketed, with the first trailer for Star Trek Section 31 and the announcement of the untitled Star Trek origin film currently set to be released in 2026. Paramount officially announced the prequel in the spring of 2024, with new developments slowly being revealed throughout the summer. As of right now, not much is known, except that the prequel film will be set largely on Earth and focus on humanity's first interactions with aliens and the early days of Starfleet and the Federation. This puts the untitled origin movie during the Star Trek Enterprise era, which opens up some exciting possibilities for storylines. However, doing another prequel runs the risk of falling into a trap that Star Trek Discovery in particular found it difficult to climb out of. Star Trek's Origins movie must avoid Star Trek Discovery's canon mistake. One of the main complaints about Discovery was that the show altered canon established in Star Trek, the original series, a problem the untitled Origin movie could run into as well if it's not careful. Discovery Season 1 was set 10 years before the events of TOS, and the introduction of Michael Burnham, Sonequa Martin Green, the Spore Drive, and Discovery's take on the Klingons all contradicted established rules that TOS had laid down. Understandably, this rubbed many longtime viewers the wrong way, which ended up hurting Discovery Seasons 1 and 2 in terms of popularity. With yet another Star Trek prequel in the works, the franchise once again faces the same problem in terms of coming up with engaging storylines that won't also bend or break canon. Star Trek Discovery never quite recovered from the upsets of its early days, and while other prequel shows like Star Trek Strange New Worlds have been more successful, they've still skirted the line in terms of messing with established events. Star Trek's untitled origin movie must try and avoid breaking canon from Enterprise or TOS if it aims to appeal to new and old audiences alike. There's an easy solution to Star Trek's canon difficulties, of course. There is one easy solution to the problem of breaking canon. Star Trek needs to stop setting new projects in the past. Prequels can be great when they're done properly, with Star Trek Strange New Worlds as a great example. However, there is only so far a storyline can go before it starts rewriting history. Discovery seemed to realize this at the end of Season 2 and took steps to make sure the show stayed relevant by catapulting its characters to the far future, giving the show a chance to explore uncharted territory in Star Trek's 32nd century. Star Trek Discovery never stopped getting mixed reviews, but its time jump did ensure that the final 3 seasons bypassed the issue of breaking continuity. By virtue of its premise, the untitled Star Trek origin movie can't employ this solution to fix the problem, but other upcoming Star Trek projects should start focusing on the future. There is a wealth of possibility in the franchise's 25th century and beyond, and while some projects like Star Trek Starfleet Academy are set to tap into that possibility, Star Trek could still do more to avoid getting bogged down in the past. The Star Trek universe has always been a beacon of hope, exploration, and unity, offering a vision of the future where humanity, alongside other species, has overcome its most pressing flaws. However, in its more recent outings, especially with Star Trek Discovery, the franchise has wavered, struggling to balance its legacy with modern storytelling trends. The next Star Trek movie must carefully consider the mistakes made in the early days of Discovery, a nearly fatal misstep that threatened to fracture the fanbase and derail the franchise. As Discovery premiered in 2017, it brought about a polarizing shift, alienating a portion of its core audience. Now, with the upcoming film, it is crucial to learn from this mistake and restore the foundational principles of the franchise while embracing modern sensibilities. The crux of Discovery's initial misstep lay in its departure from the core values and tone that had long been associated with Star Trek. When the series first launched, it promised a more serialized and darker narrative, featuring high-stakes drama, intense character arcs, and a cinematic aesthetic. While these elements aren't inherently problematic, the execution was jarringly at odds with what made Star Trek such an enduring franchise. Early Discovery embraced a gritty tone and a moral ambiguity that felt more aligned with modern sci-fi like Battlestar Galactica or Game of Thrones. This was a sharp departure from the optimism and idealism Star Trek had historically championed. The first two seasons of Discovery were filled with convoluted storylines that leaned heavily on shock value, betrayal, and grim decisions. It felt as though Discovery was trying too hard to fit into the trend of dark prestige television, rather than staying true to the franchise's more hopeful tone. The show's initial focus on war, secrecy, and the morally compromised Starfleet left longtime fans feeling disconnected. While Star Trek had always featured moments of conflict and ethical gray areas, the overriding sense of hope and belief in a better future had always been central. With Discovery, that guiding light felt dimmed. The next Star Trek movie must avoid this narrative pitfall by rediscovering the balance between drama and optimism that the franchise has always thrived on. While it's understandable that modern audiences expect a certain level of complexity and conflict in their storytelling, Star Trek's identity lies in its ability to offer a better future. It's not that Star Trek shouldn't confront difficult themes it has always done so, tackling racism, war, diplomacy, and morality. But it must do so in a way that remains true to its core message, that humanity, through cooperation and understanding, can grow beyond its current limitations. One of the primary lessons the next Star Trek film must take from Discovery is the importance of character development that serves the larger universe. In the early seasons of Discovery, the central character, Michael Burnham, was placed on a pedestal to the detriment of the rest of the cast. The series invested heavily in her journey, sometimes at the cost of developing the ensemble that typically defines Star Trek. In previous Star Trek series, The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, the sense of camaraderie and teamwork among a diverse group of characters was essential to the storytelling. These crews were family, and their collective growth, not just one individual's, drove the narrative forward. The next movie should focus on this ensemble approach, where each character's development is integral to the plot. The beauty of Star Trek lies in the way it brings together individuals from different backgrounds, species, and perspectives, and the best stories often come from how these characters work through their differences to achieve a common goal. Fans are not looking for a one-person show. They want to see the interplay of ideas, values, and cultures that has always defined the Federation. A movie that prioritizes its characters as a team, each with their own arc and purpose, will resonate more deeply with the audience and feel true to the spirit of Star Trek. Another vital lesson is in how the next movie approaches its world building. One of the most exciting aspects of the Star Trek universe is its vastness, an ever-expanding galaxy of new species, planets, and ideas waiting to be explored. While Discovery eventually corrected course, early on, the show seemed to focus too much on internal Starfleet conflicts and existing canon, rather than venturing out into the unknown. The next Star Trek movie needs to embrace the spirit of exploration once again. This doesn't mean simply visiting new planets, but exploring new ideas, ethical dilemmas, and the challenges of coexisting with vastly different cultures and technologies. At its heart, Star Trek has always been about pushing the boundaries of what we know, both in science and in philosophy.